Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head down to the Scottish borders once again, and we're going to revisit another brewery who are really quite highly rated, and rightly so in my experiences, and this is one of their beers that I've wanted to review for quite a wee while actually. So we're going to go back to Tempest Brewing Company, and this time we're having a taste of their Marmalade on Rye Double IPA. So as the name suggests, it is an IPA, comes in at 9% ABV, and this one should be really nice and kind of orangey. And if you've watched the channel before, you will know that I'm a big fan of the likes of the Amarillo, the Pacifica, and all these nice kind of big orangey hops. So definitely looking forward to this one, and as always I hope you guys enjoy my take on this beer. I believe that I actually tried one of the kind of early versions of this beer way back in the day when I first started the channel back in like 2013, 2014. I'm sure that I had a bottle of beer from these guys. It was when Brewdog were still doing their collab fest. And the Brewdog Bar in Edinburgh did a collab with Tempest Brewing Company, and it was called Marmalade on Toast or something like that. And it was really nice. So I'm really excited to try the kind of bigger version of this. I think it should be really quite interesting. So definitely looking forward to this one. And as always, I hope you guys enjoy my take on this beer. So anyway, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Tempest before. Hopefully I can add some more in the near future. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel of course has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Scottish beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to, and as always please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Tempest Brewing Company then, on to my brewery notes. So these guys were founded back in 2010 by Gavin and Anika Meiklejohn. So Anika had trained as a chef in New Zealand, but the couple returned to Scotland together in 2007 to run the Cobbles Bar in Kelso. But Gavin had previously worked for Whistler Brewing Company in British Columbia in Canada, so he did have quite an appreciation for craft beer, and he'd also taken some brewing courses in Sydney and Australia, and he'd actually home-brewed in the East Garage in Wellington in New Zealand with a small 50 litre brewery. Incidentally, Wellington in New Zealand is supposed to be an awesome beer city. I really hope I can get out there and visit it at some point. But Gavin was joined at the brewery by Alan Rice, who acts as the business development manager, and he'd previously worked for Stewart Brewery in Edinburgh as well. But this brewery was previously housed in old dairy buildings in Kelso, and this brewery that they had there was largely homemade, and it was engineered basically to produce big beers, but on a really kind of shoestring budget. However, their beers proved to be really popular, and they moved into their current and bigger and more kind of shiny home that they have now in the Tweedbank Industrial Estate in Galashiels. This whole thing is very modern actually. So it's definitely somewhere that I need to go and take a look at sometime. Whenever I was driving back up the road from Durham, it was always closed, because I always tended to be travelling up or down on a Sunday or a Friday or a Sunday, and it was always closed whenever I was going past it. So I maybe need to make a special trip down there at some point to take a look. But as I say, Tempest, very highly regarded Scottish brewery. It's cool. It's kind of one of these stories again where it's been like a chef and folk that are really into their food and things like that, and also home brewers that have turned professional. These guys kind of follow that sort of typical craft brewer line, if you like, but they're very highly regarded within Scotland. Perhaps probably the best craft brewery around in Scotland at the moment. They're doing some really good stuff, particularly good with IPAs. They're experimenting a little bit with Berliner Weisses and things like that, and of course their Scotch Ale, Old Parochial, that's probably my favourite beer that I've had from them so far. So they're good at a variety of different styles of beer, and long may their kind of experimentation continue. I've not seen a New England type IPA from these guys yet, but their West Coast IPAs tend to be like really pretty spot on. So if you're interested in Scottish craft beer, Tempest Brewing Company are one that you really want to check out. The Mexicake is also a very interesting beer too. But if you want to read a little bit more about these guys, check out the brewery website in the description below, and you can follow them on Facebook and keep up to date with all the different beers and things that are coming out. They do release new beers fairly regularly actually, and they've got regular specials and things like that are always coming out. But I'll just let you have a little look at the artwork of this one before we open up. They're really nicely presented. They have changed the label on this one again actually. It used to have the kind of paper labels that some of the beer had, with, you know, that sort of beigey kind of creamy coloured paper, and the different kind of outline, the sort of trim on it, which was quite nice. But this one they've changed the label of. I think they do this for their special beers, to be honest. There you can see the Tempest Brewing Company bottle cap, which is the same as most of the other ones, usually just different colours, of course. It says on the side here, combine. It basically gives you a recipe list, actually. There's nothing really there for me to read. Basically gives you a recipe list for this beer, so you can have a little look at that. It's quite funny. But yeah, nicely presented beer, this one. So without further ado, let's get it out and get on with the tasting then. Really looking forward to this. As I say, a 9% double IPA. This one is hopped with Amarillo and Waimea from New Zealand, both of which are really nice big orangey hops. The malt base in this one, I believe, is Rye, Golden Promise, and it's Vienna malt as well. I'm just checking the brewery website. I've got that open in front of me there. But yeah, really nice looking beer, this. So we'll see how we get on with it, and it is pretty much as you would expect from a double IPA. So this one, I would say, is quite a nice kind of dark, almost blood orange colour actually. It's a really nice rich kind of orangey colour. There is a little bit of haze to this one, but you know, that's to be expected when it comes to IPAs. Of course, there's one or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass there, and a few little ones just heading up towards the bottom of that head. I would say it's about a half finger of a kind of, I would say, a creamy coloured head actually with this one, and you can really smell the sort of bready notes coming out of this beer actually. It should be really, really nice. You can definitely smell that nice kind of slightly spicy rye, of course, but when you sugar the beer up, you start to get that head coming back on it, but you can really smell the oranges. Like I was saying, I tried one of the very early iterations of this beer, which I'm sure was called Marmalade on Toast when I first had it, collaboration between Brewdog Edinburgh and Tempest, I think back 2014-ish. That's within my first 100 reviews, I'm sure, that beer. But that was when they had the big half-litre bottles that they were using originally, and different style labels, of course. But this beer smells really, really nice, actually. As I always say, take a bit of time and enjoy the aroma before you get stuck in. So for me, this one's got a nice, really kind of big, bready malt base to it. It is actually quite spicy as well. That'll be the rye coming out of it, I would say. You can really smell that nice big rye note. It's almost got a kind of wholemeal bread quality to it, this one. The Vienna malts is one that I always love, actually. It's really cool to see them using that in an IPA, because it gives you this nice big kind of almost brown bready but also quite biscuity and buttery sort of bready note, and you can really pick that up in the aroma of this beer. But yeah, it smells really, really nice. As I say, there's that kind of rye note is sitting there, kind of big, brown, almost wholemeal bready qualities. A little bit spicy from that rye right enough as well. Definitely a bit of brown sugar in there. You can smell a little bit of sweeter caramel, but I think it's leaning more towards the sort of grainy biscuits. It reminds me a little bit of the McVitie's Digestives. But yeah, really, really nice smelling beer, this. On top of that, you know, on the hoppy side of things, as you would expect, it's got a lot of kind of orangey quality to it. There's a nice big oily orange there. That'll be mainly the Amarillo, but it's got a little bit more of a kind of lighter, juicy sort of tangerine note to it, which I'm assuming is the Waimea. The New Zealand hops, I've always found, they give you this quite distinctive, just lighter, juicy kind of quality, particularly in the flavour. I've always found the Amarillo's one that's a little bit more kind of oily in its orangey qualities. And of course the other hops you can use for orange, I mean, you could use Pacifica, it's another New Zealand hop. I think you could, there's Azaka over in over from America too. Mandarina Bavaria from Germany. I think, you know, Mosaic as well. It kind of gives you a bit of blueberry as well, right enough, but it can give you some kind of tangerine notes to the beer as well. But this one, for me, it smells really nice. It's a big oily orange quality to the beer. Definitely a good bit of a kind of spicy floral note coming off the beer as well. You can detect a little bit of that kind of spicy floral aromaticity, but that's maybe mixing with that sort of spicy rye note that the beer has. But definitely a bit of floral and grassy quality, and oranges and tangerines, which is what you'd expect going by the name of this beer. But that's enough on the aroma. Let's have a taste of this one then. As I always say though, take a bit of time and enjoy the aroma for yourself. That's always half the experience when it comes to whiskey, sake, craft beer, all these kind of things. But let's have a taste of this one then. So this one is the Marmalade on Rye Double IPA, 9% beer from Tempest Brewing Company down in Galashiels in the Scottish borders. Slàinte, skål. Yeah. It is pretty damn awesome. Now, one thing I should tell you is that when it comes to orange IPAs, I'm a little bit biased because they always really just hit the spot for me. Amarillo, Pacifica, all those hops I was mentioning a little while ago, I absolutely love them. I love the IPAs that just have that kind of nice orangey note in it, and if it's a West Coast IPA that's got a little bit of that caramel backbone in it, then you're just like, I'm just like, awesome. This one for me, really, it just kind of ticks all the boxes, if you like. I really, really like this beer. And I really remember liking that original Marmalade on Toast one that I had all those years ago. If I remember rightly, that beer was like a 7% beer or something like that. It was a regular IPA rather than the doubled one, although in fairness, I think this one, I'm not sure where the border is. This one's kind of in the middle of the double IPA range for me. I think it's usually about 11% or so, or 10.5%, over 10% you start talking about it being a triple IPA. So this one is in the middle of the range, I would say, for a double IPA. But they've done a really great job of kind of scaling this one up. But that's a beautiful beer. If you get the chance, have a go at this. I think this is probably one of the best IPAs that you're going to find in Scotland, in my opinion at least. I mean, there's some really good ones. The Brave New World that they do, not a rye IPA, probably if you're looking for something a bit more straight up, that's really good. Man Overboard from Cromarty Brewing's a really good one as well. There are various ones coming out from the new Glasgow breweries as well. 71 Brewing in Dundee, and their different IPAs seem to be very, very good as well these days. But for me, this is one of my favourite Scottish craft beers, I would say. Their other one, the Old Parochial, that's one of the best Scotch ales I've ever had. Tempest Brewing Company, they're just a really, really solid brewery. It doesn't matter what style they do, they're not going to put a bad beer out there. But for me, it really is just cracking, this one. Have a go at it for yourself. So let's examine this one a little bit. So for me, you can get the nice bready backbone with this beer, and you can feel as you go further into the aftertaste, as I say, you just get that bready quality that blankets the middle of your tongue, and as you go further into the aftertaste, you can feel a little bit of that rye quality just pushing its way out a little bit. Right in the middle of the palate, there's a nice bit of a slightly caramel sweetness. It's not too prominent, if you like, but it is just kind of sitting there. It's just on top of the bread. It's almost a little bit like a kind of bread and butter sort of thing. So I think that's the kind of Vienna malts coming out. It's probably more toast and butter rather than bread and butter. I should correct myself there. But yeah, it's really, really nice. This beer for me, as I say, it's cracking. It really is. So when you go from the middle of your palate outwards, you can feel there's a little bit of that kind of biscuity malt kind of pushing its way up. I think the sort of bready note that this beer has as well, it's probably contributed to a little bit by the Golden Promise. The Golden Promise, from what I remember, always gives you this nice kind of smooth bready note, and it's quite interesting actually to sort of blend that together with the rye malts. Actually, that kind of, it smooths the rye out a little bit, because if you put too much of the rye in, the beer can have this really quite that really sort of grainy quality. So I think that little bit of Vienna malt and the Golden Promise that they've put in there has actually balanced the malt base in this one really well, and it's made it really has made the beer have that smooth bready quality, if you like. It's really well done actually. The rye IPA is one again that's quite difficult to get, but this one I think is probably a mix of a kind of old school IPA, if you like, a straight up IPA, and a little bit of the rye IPA. It's probably more of a hybrid between the two sort of sub styles, if you like, but the malt base in this one really is very, very nice. But you can just feel that, as I say, blanketed with a nice sort of brown bready qualities. The rye comes out a little bit more as you go further into the aftertaste. Right in the middle of the palate, you get a bit of the sweeter caramel. It becomes a little bit more biscuity as you push further and further out, and maybe just towards the edges of the tongue as well, you can pick up a little bit more of that slightly stronger rye flavour. But the bready qualities in this one, it almost has a bit of a bread and butter quality, which I think is the Golden Promise, and the biscuity malts, I think, and some of that bready character that's in there. That'll be the Vienna malts coming out. As I say, that's the rye just is nicely kind of blended in with this one. On the sides of the palate then, onto the hoppy side of the beer, Back corners of the palate, teeny little bit of earthiness there, which you know is to be expected. You get that from all hops, but not really much bitterness from it there. As you come further forward along the sides of the palate, the beer gets a little bit more floral and aromatic. It's not quite spicy, but it does have a good little bit of a floral presence there. Round the very front curve of the palate, you do still get a little touch of the floral qualities of the beer, but mainly it's a bit lighter and grassy. But of course, just behind the front curve of the palate, that's where you get that nice kind of orangey, that sort of orangey tangerine note coming out of the beer, because this is where you get all the fruity esters from the hops, of course. And for me, yeah, it's the more kind of oily orange that forms the basis of this beer, and as you go further and further into it, for me it kind of morphs a little bit into the kind of tangerine note. So I think with the hops, it's the sort of American Amarillo that's you're kind of picking out at the start, but I think as you go further into it, you start to get the lighter, juicier qualities, and for me that's the way the New Zealand hops have always come out. The Waimea, you know, you've got all these things like Waiiti, Rakau, I can't even think of the other names of some of the New Zealand hops. L's Australian, sorry. You've got you've got Golden Bullet and all of these other things, Kohatu and all of this. I've always found the New Zealand hops have this nice juicy quality, and the New Zealand IPAs for me always had just this really juicy quality at the end, whereas the American ones I've always found are a little bit more oily. So they've got a really kind of good blend in here of the American oily side of things and the New Zealand juicy notes, and I think it's a lighter sort of tangerine, maybe marmalade note that comes out of the beer as you go further into the aftertaste, which is kind of quite nice actually. I do like that. The name for this beer really does make perfect sense, and I said the same about the one that I tried before, the marmalade on toast as they called it all those years ago. But for me, it's really just a very nice beer. As I say though, this one kind of hits a soft spot for me because I love orange IPAs, but it really is beautifully done, and you're not going to find a bad beer from Tempest. Like I said, it's a really cracking beer, this one. If you get the chance to try it, have a go at it for yourself. So yeah, with this one then, in terms of the mouthfeel, I'd say it's quite full-bodied. It's on the lighter end of full-bodied. Carbonation's very smooth. It leans towards the oily side of things. There's a nice little bit of a hoppy bitterness to this one, but it's not going to blow your head off. I'd say, I don't know if I was guessing, I would say maybe somewhere between 60 and 70 IBUs. It's somewhere around that kind of region. The malt base has a really good balance between the sweetness and a little bit of the graininess. It does lean a little bit more towards the sweet side of things, but as you go further into the aftertaste, the grainy notes of the malt base start to come out a little bit more. So it's sweeter in the beginning, but a little bit more grainy in the aftertaste. That rye note, as you let the beer settle, it really comes out a little bit more. But on top of that, you start to get a little bit of that, you start to get some of the caramel coming out later on again as well. It's really well balanced. This beer again is all about how these flavours kind of combine together, and they've just done a great job with it. And there's a good bit of a juicy, fruity quality to this one, which again is what you would expect. But it's a really cracking beer, one of the best IPAs I think you're going to find in Scotland. Tempest as I say, do some really good ones. Alligator Man was good. The Brave New World's a really good IPA. It's definitely a brewery that you want to check out, and these guys are good at other styles as well, like I mentioned before. But for me, really just a top class beer. This, if you like orange IPAs, if you like orange flavours in your IPAs, this is one that you definitely want to check out. So have a go at this one for yourself and just see what you think. It really is very, very good. So let's leave it at that for this one then. I'm really glad that I got to review this beer. So once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this one in the comments section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Tempest Brewery as well. If you know any beers that are similar to this or that are really good in terms of their orangey flavours, do let me know. I'd love to review a couple more like that. But this one's an absolutely cracking beer, as I say. Let me know your own thoughts on it in the comment section below. Check out all my social media and things like that. Make sure you follow Tempest on Facebook as well. But until the next time, slàinte just now, and thanks for watching. This was the Marmalade on Rye Double IPA from Tempest Brewing Company in Galashiels in the Scottish Borders region, kind of in the southeastern part of Scotland. But a really good IPA, and I think one of the best ones that you're going to find in Scotland actually. So once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews, and I will catch you guys later. Slàinte just now.